Hello, in this video we're going to look at creating a dedicated server in Unreal Engine, and we're going to be deploying this to PlayFab with the help of GSDK. So we're going to need a couple of requirements here. So we'll need to configure Visual Studio and then download Unreal Engine source code as well as compile it. So I've done both of those steps in the previous video, so I'll link that in the description. And then we're going to create a simple project. So I'm just going to use a default template from UE and add PlayFab to it, so add the GSDK and then have that deployed to PlayFab. So that's what we're going to be looking at doing in this video, and let's get started. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll just create a new project for our GSDK demo. So I'm going to keep this just a third person one. So these templates come network enabled, so they're replicated. So this will be fine for the application. So let's see what we'll have. So it's just a simple third person template. So we'll just be walking around and not doing much. So essentially what we'll have is this. So we'll go ahead and add GSDK to this project and have that deployed. All right. Okay, so the next thing you'll want to do is download GSDK. You can do this from GitHub. So simply copy this out. I've already done this, so you can see it's over here, but all you'll need to do is git clone and then paste that in. Make sure your GitHub is configured. In my case, I'm just gonna do a git pull just to make sure that I'm still on the latest. Okay, so it looks like it just updated some stuff. And what we'll do is we'll use this GSDK and integrate that with our project. Okay, now we just want to follow these instructions on PlayFab. So let's go to Unreal Engine project, create a new plugins folder, and then inside there create the PlayFab GSDK folder. And then what we'll do is we'll copy the Unreal plugin from the GSDK code that we've just downloaded, and then we'll copy that to that folder. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's open up the project. So inside here, we go ahead and create a new folder called plugins. So inside there, we want to create a new folder called PlayFab GSDK. So let's go ahead and do that. So new folder, PlayFab GSDK. And it's asking us to go into the Unreal plugin and copy all of this stuff into here. So that's just following the instructions over here. So I drag all the files from Unreal plugin folder into this folder. So there we've done this part. So let's go ahead and do this last part. Okay, let's just copy this part over here, and we'll go ahead and add this to our project. So it's inside here, just the demo. So we'll open this one with code. Okay, so there's one plugin there already. So I'll just go ahead and add this line. I'll go ahead and save that, and that should now be done. Okay, if we go down, it says include the plugin to your modules. So here it says update the project name build.cs file and add PlayFab GSDK into the public dependency modules names. So in order to do this, you need to have a C++ project instead of a Blueprint project. So we do need to generate the project files, and in order to do that, we need to add a C++ file to our project. So let's go ahead and do that first. Okay, so I'll go ahead and open the project. So inside here, what we want to do is click Tools, New C++ class. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter what we add, as just gonna add one that I don't need. So I'll just create this new actor class. Doesn't really matter what I add, I just need to add one in order to make this a C++ project. So this can take a bit of time, so I'm not sure, like maybe up to a minute. Okay, that was quite fast, so there you go. I'll just let it do its thing. And in a moment, it's going to open up the project files. I'll just pause it so you don't watch loading screens. Okay, so I think that's finished now. So it went ahead and created this my actor I'm not going to be using this. I just needed to create a C++ file so that I'm going to have my project files created. So you can already see it's added some stuff here. So this is what we wanted. So we can now proceed with the next steps. Okay, so now what we want to do is go ahead and add this PlayFab GSDK to our build file. So let's go ahead and find it. So we can do it through here as well. So games GSDK demo, it'll be under source, and it's over here, right? So all we need to do is just add this PlayFab GSDK right there. So that was that step. Okay, so the next thing that it asks me to do is to switch the Unreal Engine version just to make sure that I'm still using my source build, and then generate the Visual Studio project file. So let's go ahead and do that. So in order to switch the Unreal Engine version, just find it over here. So I'm already using the source build. So if you're not, just change it to one of the source builds that you're after. And then it asks me to rerun this generate project file. So this is how you go ahead and do that. This won't take long. So that's it. Okay, and the last one is to build the project in Visual Studio by selecting Development Editor. So let's go ahead and do that as well. So over here, we can close this one now. So we want to go ahead and so we'll give it a moment to reload. We'll need to make sure that it's set to Development Editor, and then we'll go ahead and build it. So I'll pause again and resume when it's done. Okay, so that just took 49 seconds to complete, so this is not the long compile. So let's check what the next steps are. Okay, next step here, we have this project set up. So what it wants me to do is create this server target for the project. So perhaps the easiest way to do that is inside your project folder, go into source. There's the editor target. I'll just copy and paste that in and just remove this copy. And then I put server here. So we'll go ahead and modify this. So I'll open this with code. And then anywhere it says editor, I'm going to just put server. Okay. So there's the first one. There's the next one, and there's the last one. So there we go, that's done now, and let's check back with what else we have to do here. Okay, it also asks me to add these, so let's go ahead and do that as well. So we'll just do that right below here. So let's just put them in. So there we go, we've added that in as well now. So let's see what's next. Okay, so next it wants me to create this game instance class. So we'll go ahead and do that. So I'll now open up the game. We'll wait for this to load, and then we'll add a new C++ class, and this time it will be of game instance. So let's wait for this to load. Okay, so with that loaded, we'll go ahead and create a new game instance class. And what we'll do is we'll just make this back, and we'll call it PlayFab game instance, right? So let's go ahead and do that, and let's see what we need to populate here. Okay, so let's see what else we need to do here. So it says modify the game instance header file. So let's have a look at what we need to do there. So if we go to the header file, it comes in with these already provided, so I don't think we actually need this at all. So let's go back here. It asks me to declare log category, so let's go back and do that. So maybe I'll just do that here. Next it asks me to add these public, so we can do that here. Some protected functions. And now he asks me to modify the C++ file, so let's go ahead and do that too. Okay, so let's go ahead and modify the C++ file. So what we'll do is we'll just copy these in. So we don't need this one because we've already got it. Next, we define the log category. Let's go ahead and add that in. Next is creating the init function, so we'll add that in. It says you can modify an existing one, so it just looks like it checks whether it's a dedicated server, and then it just executes these things anyway, so I'll just add that in. Seems like a good thing to have. And it completes the init function by having this added in there as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So now we need to just modify these game instance class names so we can get this from the header file. So let's go ahead and paste that in. We'll also change it anywhere we need to reference it. So there's our init function. Yep. Okay. Now he asks us to add these implementations to the bottom of the file. Let's do that as well then. So we can go ahead and add that in, and now we just need to do the same thing with the class instance. Okay. Okay, so I think that's ready. So let's have a look. Yep, so that's the end of here, and it says the other part is blueprint implementation. So you could execute this functionality via blueprints instead of C++, but let's go through the C++ methods here instead. Okay, so let's see what's the next things we need to do. So it's setting the game instance class. So we can either do it in the Unreal editor or the default engine.ini. So yeah, we can just go into the project settings. So I think this is already open. I might need to reopen this again. So the easiest way to find it is just to search game instance. Okay, we can reference it right here. So there we go, we've done that. So let's see what's next. Include prerequisites for the Windows dedicated server. So project settings, packaging on the left side, include app local prerequisites. So let's just look for it. So if I go into project settings and then just look for that, and it just asks us to tick that. Is there anything else? Okay, next step. So we're ready to build our project. Okay, so let's go ahead and follow this link to building this project. So we're going to be building the development editor, build a game client, build the development server, build a release server. So these prerequisites are the same. So we need to have used the Unreal Engine from source code. And it says in development editor. So this is the first thing that we're looking to build. So right click, generate Visual Studio project files. So we'll go ahead and do that. So once Visual Studio loads, change the configuration to development server and then click build. So that's what we're going to do. So the first thing is we'll go here, we'll do generate Visual Studio project files. So this will go ahead and refresh it. I'll just reopen it just in case. So I'll go ahead and save that and reopen it here. Next, I'm going to be selecting the target for development server, and then I'll click build. I'll just pause while this loads again. Okay, so now that this is loaded, I'll go ahead and click development server. So Win64 is good. I'll go ahead and click build. So this can take a while. So if I go back here, it says it can take several hours, which it probably can, depending on your project size. So I've got a small template project, right? So mine shouldn't be that long, but it will still take a while. So I'm going to pause here and come back when it's ready. So I do expect it to give me an error, which is, I think, a known error in Unreal Engine 5.32. So when I'm faced with it, I'll basically show how we can work around it as well. So yep, let's see how long it takes to get there. Okay, so the first issue that I came across was a small mistake here. So I'll just show that I fixed that up, and I'm going to click to build again. So let's wait for that to complete now as well. Okay, so that just took a couple more seconds to build. I was expecting another error, but I didn't actually get one. So perhaps we'll face it a bit later on, or maybe it's project specific. I will add something in the description, so another link in the description, just in case you do face some additional errors. Maybe that will be helpful. But for now, we'll just continue with these steps. So I have noticed that I think that this is a typo because it asks you to build the development server over here, and obviously the title said development editor, right? So what I'll do is I'll switch that to development editor as well. Nothing is lost because you had to do both anyway. So you can see I'll click build here. And the reason why you need that is when we start the development editor, the actual building of shipping client happens from the development editor itself. So this is now done, you can see that. So we'll go ahead and start the development editor, and we'll begin packaging the client. Okay, so with that open, what we need to do is package project, build target, and then choose the project, build configuration development, and it's under the window. So I think these instructions are a bit out of date because I think that's what you did in a UE4. So in UE5, we need to click Platforms, Windows. Here we'll select Development, and then go back to Windows, select the project. So you can see that with the source code version, we have this server available. So that will be the next step. But for now, we'll go ahead and click Package. And what I'll do is I'll just create a new folder here for packaged items, and I'll just add client here, and that's where we'll start packaging it. So I guess you're not going to be able to see it, but it's begun the packaging process. So this will take a bit of time, so I'll go ahead and pause it here again, and we'll come back when it's done. Okay, so as we can see in the output, it's completed successfully. So what I'll do now is I'll start packaging it for the server. So all I do is essentially I just need to change it from this GSDK demo to GSDK demo server. So this is now using the server target, and I'll go ahead and click package project. So instead of a client, I'll go ahead and create server, and I'll now just let it do its thing on the server target. So this could take a bit of time, so I'll go ahead and pause it. Okay, so now that the packaging has completed for the development server, I'll also just create a shipping server as well, because I think I will be deploying the shipping server to the cloud as it's a lot smaller. So there's going to be less logs and things like that, but it will be a lot smaller to send over. So we'll go ahead and package that as well. So here we have the client server, and I'll just create a new folder for shipping server as well. So I'll go ahead and start packaging for that as well. So we'll wait for this to complete. Okay, so that completed, but I did notice that there was actually a step missing here. So we do need to also modify the default map for the server, because unless we do that, it's not going to work properly on the deploy. So the server is not going to load the correct map, or rather it's not going to have one if you have none selected. So we do need to select the map you want the server to run. So this is how you modify this. And now I'm actually going to need to repackage this again. So I'm going to go ahead and update the so the packaged. I'm just going to delete this folder, and I'm going to just repackage it again. So I thought it's worth noting that. Okay, so I'll go ahead and wait for this to update, and when it's done, we're ready to start uploading this with configurations to PlayFab. Okay, so that finished packaging, but I should have actually tested the project first, and there's actually issues with this particular version of GSDK. I was hoping that get fixed by now, but they still exist. So if I just simply click play, you can see it throws some exceptions, and these are critical exceptions, so it's just going to cause a crash. So there's a couple of issues with this particular version of GSDK, so I hope it gets fixed in the near future, so maybe you won't face it. But if you do have these issues as well, let's go through a couple of steps that we can do to fix it. Okay, so we can find the GSDK code on GitHub, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the commits tab, and then I'm going to have a look to see what commits were made in the recent history. Now, I'm pretty sure that this commit over here might have caused the issue. I think I was looking through some of the source code and it touched some of the files which are currently breaking. So what I'm going to do is just go to the version before that. So if I go to my Git, I'm going to do git checkout and then paste the commit version before the one that I think caused the issues. And now what I'm going to do is just copy the files across. So if I go to the plugins folder now, there's my PlayFab GSDK. I'm going to just go ahead and delete that. This is the GSDK folder which is managed by Git. So again, I'm going to go in here. So this version should be several versions before the current one. So this is not ideal, but you know, like I'm just trying to avoid the bug here rather than fix it at this stage, and because I'm not an expert in that GSDK plugin. So okay, with those copied over, I'm just going to need to again rebuild the project. So I'm going to go ahead and just click build here. So it's selected to development editor. So I'm going to go ahead and wait for this to complete. I'll then build the development server as well, and then I'll resume the video. So those are the two things that I'm going to do, and I'll see you back shortly. Okay, you can see that it only took 33 seconds to do the rebuild. So the first iterations are a lot slower. So I think for this empty project, they took about 20 minutes, but then the following ones are a lot faster. So now I'm going to go back to the development editor and start that up. And we can just check to make sure that the project is running. And if it is, we can then repackage it. Okay, with the project loaded, yep, so you can see that I can click play and now it's running as expected. So it just means that there's an issue with the current version of GSDK, so this is a bit unfortunate. I do hope it gets fixed so you don't need to do these same steps again, but it's worth bearing in mind, you know, software is not perfect, so there could be issues with the latest version of Unreal or the latest version of GSDK, so it's worth checking with the forums and things like that on how to resolve some of these issues. But now that this is running, I'm ready to go ahead and repackage it. So let's go and do that now. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go back to the packaged folder, the shipping server. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that again. And once again, I'll click package. So I'm going to do this both for the shipping server and the client. And yeah, let me pause the video and get back to you soon. Okay, so the shipping server has completed. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the client. So I'm going to go ahead, change this to GSDK demo, and I'll just make it development and I'll click package. So I'll go ahead and start packaging that as well. Okay, now that we've packaged the client and server, we're ready to deploy the server to the cloud. So we'll look at these steps. And if you actually look at the instructions, it does tell us to package against a shipping target. And the main reason for that is the size, right? So if I go into the packaged folder here and we check out the shipping server, this is only 229 meg. Whereas the development server, it's over 2 gigabytes, right? And the main difference with that is all of the debug and logs that it will produce, right? So we're just going to be using the shipping server when we're going to be deploying it to PlayFab. So let's go through all of these steps and see how it's done. Okay, so we're going to skip the testing of this locally and we'll go straight to zipping this and deploying this to PlayFab. So what I'll do is inside here, I'll go 7-zip and I'll add it to the archive. So there it is uploading, and I'm going to just rename this so that I can reference it in the upload. Deploy demo. Okay, and this is what we're going to be uploading to PlayFab. Okay, and we'll go to the next step. So this is going to be now using PlayFab dashboard. Okay, so what you'll need to do is register with PlayFab and then create a new title. And once you do, you'll be presented with a screen quite similar to this. And all of the pieces that we'll need are going to be inside this multiplayer tab. And we'll be creating a new build. So give this a build name. So I'll just call it GSDK demo, and I'll set it to the smallest number of cores possible. I'm going to build this as a process, and this is where we're going to be uploading our files. So I'll go ahead and drop these files that we've just zipped up. So since my internet's not great, having the smaller file size really helps. And now we're going to want to populate things like the start command and things like that, right? So in order to get those, let's just create a notepad. I'll find it through here. So it's going to be inside GSDK, binaries, Win64 is going to be this one over here. So I'll go ahead and copy that, put that in. I don't need these things, and also I'm going to need the name for this file. So I'll go ahead and put that in. We need the slash. Also, I'll be changing these slashes. And this is going to be our start command. Okay. And in terms of region, I'll put North Europe. So one standby server, one Mac server. Game port for port name is going to be UDP. And that's it. So I'm going to pause here while this completes the upload, and then we'll continue from there. Okay, now that this is completed, let's go ahead and click Add Build. So there's an issue here. Oh, for some reason this was one. Okay, so we'll add build, and there it is deploying. So this will take a while. So again, I'm going to pause the video. Sometimes it can be like 20 minutes. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll let you know how long it takes when it's complete. Okay, so that's finished now. I think that took roughly 10 minutes or something to complete. So with that ready, what I'll do is I'll take a couple of details that I know I'm going to need from here. So the first one is going to be this build ID. So you'll have build ID available on this screen. It's also available from just the screen over here as well. So that should be the same ID. Next, I'm going to need some title settings. So the first thing that I'll need is the title ID. I'll just add that in here. I'm also going to need to generate a new secret key. So I'll just create a new secret key, which I'll just have it expire this Sunday. So it's probably going to be gone by the time I make the video. So there it is, secret key. Okay, so I think those are the three pieces of information that I'll need in order to interact with PlayFab via APIs. So now we can go back to the documentation. Okay, so if we scroll down, we'll be able to see here next steps, connecting a game client. So let's go inside there. So it basically asks us to clone or download this nps samples repo. So again, just as before, click code, and then you can clone it or just simply download it. Choose whatever you like. So inside there, this is what you'll have. And what we're going to do is inside this folder, go into this nps sample and just open up that project. And what we'll do is we'll just click play. And this is where we're going to be using that information that we've just acquired, right? So it asks us for the title ID. So just paste that in. Developer secret key. So this is going to expire soon. So I don't mind sharing it. And now we want to request multiplayer server. So we'll do that. And now we want the build ID. Okay. So this is where we'll add that in. I'll just add 2 players here. And then I'll just click enter, and here it gave me back some information. So this is information about the server. So I want to take note of the IP. So this is the IP for the server, and then this is the port for the server as well. So let's take this down as well. So okay, now we have the information that we needed from this MPS tool, and now we can configure our client startup. Okay, so next in the instructions, what we want to do is create this runcloud.batch file, and inside there we want to be executing our client executable and provided the IP address and the port to connect to. So that's what we needed this MPS application for, is to get that IP address and the port. So let's go ahead and do that. So we can find the client in our packaged folder. So this is the executable. So I'll go ahead and create a new text document. I'll just call it run cloud. And what I'll do is I'll modify that to be the batch file. So here GSDK demo, it's a .x, and it asks us to put the IP address and the port. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is the IP address, and now the port. And it asks us to do dash log. So the other thing that I'll add is a window here, so that I can see two screens at once essentially. And let's save as, and now I'm going to make it a .bat file. So there we go, we've got the batch file created. So I'll go ahead and delete this text file, and I think we're ready to execute. Okay, so I'll go ahead and run the script. So you can see it's trying to connect to the server now. So this should be synchronized with the server. So you may have to excuse my internet. I wanted to wait for it to become a bit better, but my internet's just not very good. So it might be jittery, but I'll go ahead and open up another client, and hopefully these two become synchronized now. So cool. So you can see the two players are now effectively synchronized. So what I'll do is I'll try and make them even smaller so I can put two of them on the screen together. So there's the first one, and there's the second one. And what you should be able to see is that now, I mean, it's pretty unplayable, but that's mainly due to my internet. So you can see the two clients are synchronized now via the server, which is hosted on PlayFab. So that's how you basically get them connected. As you can see, it's not really, the full end-to-end, because I had to get the IP address and the port manually via that MPS application. So in reality, you're going to need to find a way of doing that in an automated way. For that, you should be able to use PlayFab SDK as well, which is available in the marketplace. So there is more work to be done, but you can see now we've generated the dedicated server. So we've packaged a shipping executable, which we've now put into PlayFab, and it's been hosted in PlayFab, and our clients can connect to it. So this is a pretty big step in like the DevOps journey, essentially. So hopefully you found that useful. And what I'm going to do now is I'll show you how you can start spinning it down as well. So there are ways to basically spin it down without destroying the build. So if I go into this GSDK demo, what you can do now is simply set the target, standby, and maximum to 0. And what it's going to do is going to effectively, well, shut down the server, right? Do bear in mind that next time you spin up a server, this will be a new instance. So it's going to have a brand new IP address associated to it. So you're going to need to go ahead and get the IP address using that MPS application again, or look for a way to automate the acquisition of that IP. So that would be effectively some of the next steps to do. But yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you found that useful, and see you next time. Bye.